Welcome back, everyone, to the Fit Commit podcast. As you can see, today it's not Marcus, it's Andrew. And just for those of you who doesn't know me, I'm working with Marcus and trainer Andrew on the marketing part, making sure that regarding everything that is collaboration, the social media content, we take care of that. And of course, you may see double today. And let me remind you, you haven't had too much pre-workout this morning. It's my brother, Ralph, which is my twin brother. So Ralph, you want to do a small introduction of who you are in the Fit Commit team?
Of course. Hey everyone, this is Ralph. First time you see me on the podcast. So as you can see, I'm Andrew's twin brother. And of course, we're all working into this amazing project with trainer Andrew and the remaining of the team. And looking forward for this podcast and our special guest today.
Perfect. And Andrew, I don't know if maybe you potentially did some introduction in the past podcast, but if it is the first time for the viewers, the floor is yours.
So I've been a trainer for close to about 15 years at this point. Been obsessed with fitness for about 25 years. Was the head coach at the Clean Health Fitness Institute, and I'm the head of fitness at Fit Commit for AI. And yeah, working on all like the fitness-based formulas and everything in the background, making sure that all the fitness programs and nutrition plans and everything's going to be up to scratch with all of the education that I've done over the years.
Perfect. And lastly, our special guest today for this podcast, Justin Eplin, who is a good friend of mine. So Justin, the floor is yours. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you very much, Andrew. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me be on the show. This is quite the honor. As you can imagine, I've done quite a few things in my life, but most recently was, I was the owner of a gun shop and had sold that in a business and whatnot. But at that time, I was a quite hefty fellow, so I had to find a way to trim down and worked out, got myself from 240 pounds down to 160 pounds, and just living life now. I'm really, really proud of myself and proud of the achievements that I've had, and
It's amazing.
really, really excited about the next stages of life.
Well, thank you, Justin. I mean, this is the reason why today we want you to have in the Fitment podcast, because you are such a character. You are your persona and your character is really impressive. What you went through and your physical transformation. And this is exactly what Fit Commit is built around. So this is why we wanted to have you today, and I'm so glad that you're there. So let's jump straight into it. About the first question I wanted to ask you. Take us back to that version of yourself. You're 240 pounds, your business is struggling, you're financially in the hole. What did a regular day look like back in the days when you were in that state?
Back in the day in that state, I was kind of a pretty sad fella, to be honest with you. I would wake up late. It was always donuts for breakfast, and several coffees before lunch and whatnot. Definitely not black coffee. It had a whole ton of sugar in it, and I was definitely very, very unhealthy with my eating habits and my sleep schedule. Workout schedule was completely non-existent at that point. It was pretty focused on business and advancing the business itself, and it kind of ate my life, so to speak. And then
I see.
things started to degrade as my health started to degrade. Obviously, the bigger you get, the more health problems that you have. And I saw some pre-diabetes kind of style issues that were coming up. I decided that that was pretty much the time that I needed to make a change.
I see.
So between that and some traumatic life events, it decided to make a commitment to being in more healthy shape and being around longer, so to speak.
So you mentioned that you were having these habits because of your business and you were busy. Was it because you just didn't have time and the business was booming and you just had to focus? Or was it just because you were trying stuff and you were a bit lost? Like, what was the state of the business and the thing that you're trying to do? Was it like good, or everything was just like declining?
It was kind of chaotic at the time, but what I can say is that it was definitely due to my time management skills, and then also my discipline of being able to do my stick-to-itiveness, I guess you could call it, for a project and whatnot. It was because I had so many different irons in the fire at a daily basis that I was always trying to put some other fire out while I was trying to continue with my other business as well.
I see. Interesting. I mean, I remember one of the conversation you exactly told me these words. You know, when you have too many iron on the stove, sometimes it's difficult to manage. So I can understand why, you know, for you it brought to this state. So, I mean, I'm curious to see like when you were at that point, you were overweight, you were broke, mentally done. What's the internal dialogue like? What when you wake up every day and you said that you had donuts and you just having a bad daily habits? What you were telling yourself every day? Like you were just looking yourself at the mirror. It's like okay, like I need to change this, or at some point you were like okay, this is me, and you just accept it. Like what was going in your mind?
At the time, it was kind of acceptance. I had accepted where I was at and what life had essentially handed me, and I was kind of just taken back and taken okay with the mediocrity. And it was not where I needed to be. I can tell you that for sure. The more overweight I got, the more the guy in the mirror looked more hideous to me. And then obviously that's a self-confidence issue. You know, when you don't look good to yourself, you definitely don't feel good. So that's also one of the things that, you know, led to the business decline is I started feeling poor about myself because it was a poor mental health.
I see. And I would like to have Andrew's opinion on that because he trains hundreds of people and he probably met a lot of them with the similar states. So, Andrew, maybe if you can share us some experience you had with people feeling that way, or like how did you help them do the switch when they were feeling like Justin did?
Yeah, so there's quite a few clients that I had that were in a bad state to start with. The ones that got the best results were the ones that believed that they could actually do it, and they were sort of somewhat disciplined, but they believed it could be done. It was the ones that were just very pessimistic about everything that it was just so difficult for me. It was difficult for them. There was always like a roadblock. They just couldn't get there. But the easiest strategy that I found to help people that have like a bad mental state is just to meet them where they're at and make make the change just a little bit out of their comfort zone. So, you know, for example, let's say my routine when I was at the top of my game, if you try and give that to a beginner, it's too much. It's like, it's just overwhelming. It's like, I can't fucking handle this. This is too much. This is too difficult. Is this what getting fit is? Fuck this. I can't handle it. It's too much. I'm done. Whereas if you, let's say, starting at bare minimum, like nothing, and you're like, all right, look, all I want you to do is get up. You're going to do, let's say it's super easy. You're like, okay, you're going to get up. You're going to do 10 push-ups, 10 sit-ups, 10 squats. That's all I want you to do. Do that. Do it for a week. Get consistent with it. Let's report back the next week. Usually when I took that sort of approach, it's because you're building them up slowly. And because you're building them up slowly, they're just so much more likely to actually stick with it because they're starting where they can handle it and it becomes a habit over time. As opposed to it's like, oh, look, you know, we've got 15 exercise scientists and nutrition scientists and everything. They formulated you to the best program in the world. Here, I'll go ahead and do that. It's like, I can't handle this because I'm at this level and you just gave me a program that's here. So it's like, you got to try and meet the client where they're at. Like if I had an elite level athlete come to me, it's like, yeah, look, here's the hardest program in the world, go for gold. But if they're, you know, just, you know, normal or they've come from a hard time or bad mental state or, you know, extremely bad health, best thing I've found is just meet them where they're at, make it a little bit harder than the level they're currently at. Over time, they're going to adapt to it.
So starting small and just because I've been and also in my personal, this is what helped me. Small action compounds, and sometimes you want to start everything because you're excited. Oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. Like even for example, me, I'm trying to gain some more weight or more muscle, and of course Andrew is helping me. And we're starting slowly. It's like, okay, let's try to do this. Like increase it by what you eat, for example, increase it by 1,000 calories, and then slowly we start to build the habits. And after 2 months, I'm getting used to it. So was it something, Justin, that you also started like, okay, I'm gonna start today, I don't know, I'm just gonna start eating I don't know, two times per day, or I'm gonna go at the gym 1 hour per day? How did you did this transition when you decided, you know what, I want to change? Justin, you're on mute.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
Happens to the best of us. When I finally made the decision, the transition to go from, you know, fat ass to badass kind of thing, I had to decide at what was going to be, you know, realistic on a daily basis. So what I did was is I looked for advice, and I found the advice in a friend of mine. His name is Luke, fantastic fella, and he gave me the advice of being consistently 1% better every single day. So it was every single day that I had a small win. So no matter what happened, every single day, if I did exactly what I had tried to do, just another day that compounded the previous day, like you had mentioned. And as it continued to go on, I was feeling more and more momentum. And then the better the momentum got, the more the changes, and then the more I saw the changes, the more motivated I got. And then the more motivated I got, I wanted more.
I see.
So then I went back to the gym. It was even harder, and then I tried a different and harder workout program, and then curtailed my diet even more so. So yeah, it was a compounding factor definitely across the board.
I see. So it's good, like the 1% each day. I think this is a powerful statement that everyone who wants to start a journey, they need, like, this is exactly also what I have in my mind, 1% better. And with time, you're just gonna get better. I mean, let's not, it's because people want to always rush things out and trying to find some workarounds. And I don't know if at some point you thought about it, you know what, I'm just gonna try to hack my way into it, or you decided, you know what, I'm just gonna stick to 1% and it's gonna happen.
It was definitely a sticking to a solid regimented routine of the 1% every single day. So I was just making sure that I went to the gym every single day. I did to do something every single day for 30 minutes. And then after 30 minutes became 35 minutes, and then 40 minutes, and then 45 minutes. And now I'm an hour twice a day at the gym because it's just what feels natural and what feels normal to me.
I
So,
see.
one shot is cardio, one shot is, weight training and that kind of stuff. And it's more maintenance now than anything else. Slow growth over time, as opposed to trying to do the full body transition
I
from
see.
a before and after kind of thing.
Great. And we'll definitely get back to it because, I want to learn more about the whole physical transformation. But right before you decide, you know what, I want to switch, did anyone around you knew how actually bad it was? Or because you mentioned that you reached out to your friend, but were you hiding it, or you were just telling people around you, your family? So how did you manage that?
It ended up coming from a sit down with basically my best friend, and I walked in the door, and as soon as I walked in the door, hadn't seen me in quite some time. He looked at me, and there was almost a visible sneer to his face. And when I sat down, he goes, "What's up, bro? How you doing?" All the normal pleasantries. And he looked me dead in the eyes, and he goes, "What happened to you, bro? You got fat as fuck."
I see.
And that hit me like a ton of bricks. And I at the time, I was quiet for many minutes after that. I could tell you that, because it was absolutely true, and it really hits home when it's somebody that really means something to you,
Yeah.
and they give you that brutal truth, and that's what it needed. And then at that point, that was the total shift factor that I could no longer be a fat ass. I had to get back into shape.
It's good because sometimes it only take one moment for people to realize, okay, like they snap out of it and it's like, okay, there's a problem here. I need to change. And Andrew, was it something that you were sometimes leveraging, like, or you were really, when people approached you because they wanted to change, was it were they telling, oh, because it's for me, oh, it's because I want to do it for my mother or for my wife or for my friends? Is often people do decision because it's for them, or some people it's better for them to visualize if they say, okay, I want to do this, so this person is part of me, someone that cares for them.
I had a couple times where they were doing it because they were getting married. But in general, the majority of the clients that I got, they were all sort of doing it. They just wanted to feel better about themselves. They were, for example, some of them, they might have been skinnier. They just wanted to raise their self-confidence by having more muscle. But the vast majority was fat loss. There was just a lot of people that were, a lot heavier than what they wanted to be. They just didn't feel comfortable anymore. They wanted to make a change. But yeah, there's a very, very varying degree. Like, man, I had some clients where it didn't even feel like I was coaching them. It was like I'm hanging out with a mate, just taking them through the motions. Let's go, push yourself on this, blah, blah, blah. Like those were the best sessions. But then, you get some energy vampires, and you're just dreading that session. You go through the session, and then you've got no more energy the rest of the day. The rest of the day, they're just taking out all of your energy. But yeah, I think I think the main thing, it always comes back down to like to their state of mind, what's driving you. Um, you could have the best goal in the world, but if you don't have the right why behind it, you'll probably, even if you do get there, you're going to be going through force. You're just going to be, dragging your feet, dragging chains behind you the whole time. So yeah, I think the biggest thing when it comes to reaching your goals, like there needs to be a good reason for it. There needs to be something there for you to actually stick to it in the hard times. But I like exactly what you were saying, Justin. Like the small wins over time, they compound. Like that's where the money is. Like, can people go from 0 to 100? Absolutely, it can be done. But I'm sure we've all experienced moments where we've tried to do that, and it's a lot harder than what you think. It's kind of like, I don't know if you guys know the Dunning-Kruger effect. It's like, oh, you think, oh yeah, I know fucking what I need to know, and then you get into it, and you're like, oh man, fuck, I don't know shit. So it's kind of like it's like that with fitness. They're like, oh yeah, how hard could it be? Look at this diet plan, and then they get into the thick of it, and they're like, oh my goodness, I can't stick with this. This is too much. You bit off more than they could chew. So yeah, the mental game is very real when it comes to fitness. Like you have to have your mind in the right spot.
Yeah, I think a lot of people tend to forget that. I think it's only just the body transformation, but I think what's most difficult when you do a transformation is managing your expectations, because no matter which stage you are, and maybe Justin is it like this for you, your body, for your mind is never enough. It's like, okay, I want more. Okay, I've reached that, but what's next? You're always trying to look for the next challenges. So managing the expectation and being okay, like it's gonna be like this for 3 months, and it's trust the process, it's gonna happen, and then sometimes you wake up some days and your mind is against you. So I'm curious to know, before we're switching into the transformation journey, what are some tricks that you gave yourself, Justin, or maybe also Andrew, you can add on it, like what are tricks that you do to help manage your expectations so you just don't lose your track and it's like, I know what, I don't want to do this anymore, it's too difficult.
Well, for me personally, it's I have to admit I lied to myself when I say when I go to the gym, I'm only going to be there for 5 minutes. And the 5 minutes is I'm only going to be there for 5 more minutes. And I'm only going to be there for 5 more minutes. And I'm only going to be there for 5 more minutes. As silly as it sounds and as stupid as it is, that's actually what gets me through the workout is by the time I'm on the 12th or 15th iteration of I'm only going to be here 5 more minutes, it's already been an hour or 70 minutes,
Oh
75
wow.
minutes, and I'm actually ready to go. So it's kind of small lies at some point, but whatever it takes to get you to keep going every day is exactly what it needs to be. For me personally, it's a big motivating factor is my daughter. I have to be able to keep up with a 10-year-old right now, and being 44, I turn 45 next month. She's got a lot more energy than I ever would, so
Yeah,
I got to be able to be able to ready to take care of her as well. So.
amazing. Wow. I mean, it sounds so simple, but it's so effective. Like I'm trying to figure out myself, like, yeah, this would work. This would work. Yeah, 5 minutes and then you stay more, and it's great. And what about you, Andrew? Like, what would you? Oh, Ralph, I don't know if you wanted to add something.
Yeah, just wanted to add that it's good that you're leveraging the fact that you have a daughter and you're using that as a motivation to keep yourself in check. And I think this is an important factor, especially the fact that you were lonely in that journey. I mean, me, for example, I always had Andrew, and it's always nice to have someone else to point you out when you're not doing something right, or just to make sure that you stay on the right track. And it's good that you found that power, if I can say it that way. And I think this applies also for trainer Andrew, where people go with the trainer to have someone who's going to keep them accountable every day, keep showing up. Some days you're feeling less energized, you're not feeling like working out, but having that person is always a great asset.
So I would like to, now that we understand your frame and the way that you thought about it. So, because I've met you multiple times, Justin, and let me tell you, you're shredded. You're really shredded. I'm not gonna say the word afterward, but you're really shredded, and it's really really impressive. Like the body transformation. I mean, you went from 240 pounds to around 160, 170 pound, and you around 10 to 12% body fat. What is like? What was the time frame in between? Was it in 2 years you did it? The transformation?
The time frame was about a total time of about 9 months was the total time transformation. So I was hitting it pretty hard. I was doing some intermittent fasting, and
Wow,
it was quite the commitment. I can tell you that for sure.
man, 9 months.
The end result for me was very basic and very simple. Is I know it's probably the same for many other people. Is I just wanted to look good naked. I mean, that was basically the whole thing for me. Is I wanted to not be ashamed of myself if I took my clothes off, kind of thing. And I know now, uh, if there weren't laws, hey, you never know. But at this point, that was the real motivating factor. That, and obviously any real man, you want to be able to attract the attention of a beautiful woman and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
And I can tell you, when you're fat and you're sloppy and you're a slob, they are absolutely not looking at you. You are absolutely invisible. You might as well not even exist. But now I can tell you, when I walk in a room, heads turn,
it's good.
and I am the showstopper these days. So it's kind of nice to be that.
It's good. So there's an aura that comes with it. So the fact that you did it in 9 months, this blows my mind. It's like feel like for me, it's like you went through something that was super hard because 9 months from that to that, it's crazy. So what did day one look like? Like what was the first thing you actually changed? Like you know what, you woke up that day. It's like okay, in your mind, you I don't know if you knew you want to do this in 9 months, but what was day one? So, okay, I'm gonna start today. I'm in Justin shoes. What do I do? Like what was the first thing you did?
First thing I did was I set a schedule that I was going to follow from that day forward. So I said I'm going to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning because my normal schedule I was getting up at about 7:30, 8 o'clock. So I was going to get up significantly earlier. So starting my day before everyone else and before the family and all that kind of stuff. So I would be able to get up, go to the gym, have ample amount of time at the gym, and then still make it home and be able to get everybody ready for the day and that kind of thing. So that was the first step essentially, and doing that every single day, creating the consistency on that every single day is essentially what led to the transformation.
So, okay, so two point here. So, you emphasizing on having a schedule, and I believe every day you went at the same time, and also when it comes to eating and dieting was exactly always at the same time. So it's a solid schedule. Like there's no exception, right?
Absolutely. It was as rigid as setting a watch. I mean, I literally would have alarms set for times to eat, and every single aspect was followed to a down to the minute schedule effectively at
Wow.
that point.
So I have a side point I want to mention here. You said that you wake up at 4 a.m. to train, and I think you still do it. You wake up like really early in the morning to go train. Me personally, I'm not a morning person. I like to train at night, like around 9, 10 p.m. Just because when I just go through my day, I do my stuff, and then afterward, it's like, okay, anyways, during night, I'm less effective, so I'm just going to go train. Andrew, what do you recommend for someone? Like, is there actually a difference between working in the morning or at night or in the afternoon? Because, for example, for me personally, I've noticed when I train later in the day, I've eaten, I have the energy to go lift heavier. So, what's your recommendation here?
There's, I'm sure I remember hearing something about this. I just can't remember the specifics about how it worked. But there was something to do with, I can't remember if it was neurotransmitter balance or something. There's something inside of us where some people are better suited to do things in the morning. Some people are suited to do them at night. Um, at the end of the day, look, whatever works, it works. If it works for you to go at night, go at night. My general recommendation, though, is I prefer to do everything in the morning. So I'm similar to Justin in that way. I like whatever is difficult and whatever is new, do it in the morning. And there's some studies that can sort of back that up. I can't remember what the study was, but I'm pretty sure it was from the book, The Power of Habit. Um, the study, just like a real quick summary of it, what they were trying to say was they were looking at judges and how likely they were to grant bail throughout the day. And essentially what they found was all of the judges were much more likely to grant bail earlier, like right after they started, or after they had a break. And essentially what that's saying is the more processing power that your brain needs to use, the harder the decisions are and the less like the more agitated, a little bit more agitated, the more you don't want to do. It's like in the judge's case, the more you don't want to grant bail. Oh, this guy's, I don't like how he did this, and I don't know, I'm not going to do it. Whereas it's more lenient earlier on. So like they got more brain power, more functioning power. So how that applies for fitness is, let's say, because a lot of people don't realize the majority of a normal person's day is habit. Like you get in the car and go to work, you're not thinking. That's an automatic thing. You're driving, it's automatic. That's not real processing power. That's like subconscious. Like if you've driven long enough, it's automatic. You don't need to think about it. So if you think about how many things in your day, like your normal average day, you're actually thinking about, most of the day is habit. Like if you're on the computer, that's habit. If you're driving, that's habit, blah, blah, blah. But when you try and implement something new, that's where all the conscious processing power is. Now, if you've done your entire day, you've gone through your entire day, and now you've used up all of your willpower, and all of a sudden you have to use extra willpower to do this new thing, it's just exponentially harder. So that's why, in general, what I would recommend is if someone's a beginner or this doesn't have to be fitness, this is anything that's new. So for example, with me, I remember years ago, like when I first started reading on my own and doing my own research and reading my own books and everything, I was like in the morning. So I want to do it, but every single time, if I did it at the end of the day after work, I'm like, oh, no. I'll do it tomorrow. But if I did it first thing in the morning when I like woke up, I actually got it done. So, again, you can take it with a grain of salt. Like you said, you prefer to do it in the night. Everyone's different. But in general, the earlier in the day or after a break, that's where you're going to have more willpower to do something that's difficult that you're not accustomed to.
Interesting. Okay, so always start with the hardest at the beginning of the day, and then the thing that we're just all used to, we just keep it at the end. Okay, perfect. I mean, I think this is it's definitely great advice for everyone who looking to start. And also, I think this at some point when you're used to it. I mean, if you like training in the morning and it's part of you, you're just gonna stick to it, to what works for you. So, Justin, you mentioned about the schedule. I would like to know more. Walk us through the approach in terms maybe of your diet, the mindset, the training that you were doing. Like, what was the framework? So for example, you said you were doing intermittent fasting. Was this every day? And about training, was it just lifting weight? Was it running? What was it about? Like, how did you structure all of that?
The way I structured it is I had started it with essentially 4 days a week we're going to be weight training, 3 days a week we're going to be cardio, and then at that point I was also structuring my diet to being uh, very, very calorie deficit oriented. Extremely high protein, mostly oceanic based proteins at that point. So mostly your fish, your crabs, your shrimp, things like that. I did eat quite a bit, probably more than my fair share of salmon. I think I probably killed a hatchery myself. But it's a complete it was a complete commitment to the diet itself. So it was typically 4 eggs and then 4 eggs over easy or over medium, a little bit of butter just to be able to sure I could get it down and that kind of thing. And then, later on in the evening, it would be, a plank of salmon, and that would be about it for 4 of the 7 days of the week. The remaining days of the week were water and supplements.
Wow. And did you have someone that helped you come up with this diet, or you just did your research and you just figure it out and you test things out?
I basically looked at what everybody else was doing and tried to mirror that. And then I had found a mentor. Alex is a great guy. He does physical training and that kind of stuff, and gave me quite a bit of insight on actual the metabolic science and how the body processes things and things of that nature. So it gave me a much better insight on how to curtail the diet after that. And then I didn't have to do quite as much intermittent fasting.
I see. And did it happen that maybe at the beginning when you started things didn't work out? Like you're trying to eat something and it wasn't working, and then you had to change. So did you have this phase where you're just trying to eat stuff and sometimes you end up just gaining more, or was it always like constant? Like the moment you start changing your diet, it was always okay, I'm losing weight.
When I started that particular diet program, it was almost a day over day weight loss, and it was getting to the point where I was losing a very, very consistent amount of weight every single week. And the more I increased the cardio training and obviously the weight training on a 2 to 5 minute per day basis, obviously aggregately that added up over the week, and then obviously a calorie increase with a calorie increase in output with a calorie intake deficit. It was a pretty dramatic difference at that point.
So you were tracking how much you were eating daily, like you were writing on a paper, okay, this is how much I ate, this is approximately how much I burned, so that way you're able like to Because the idea is, do you think like if you, so you did you track or you did not track daily to help you make this progress?
I tried to track daily. It was quite a challenge because it was either there was a very difficult way to record everything and all that
Yeah,
kind of stuff on a daily basis. So it was I tried some of the off-brand fitness apps and that kind of stuff. I wasn't satisfied with the way that they were
yeah.
their diet plans and how the things were structured inside there. So I couldn't actually report what I was eating and how I was eating and that kind of thing. So it made
Because
it quite a challenge.
because you know, I feel like now with AI things are way easier, and I feel like in my mind there's a clear distinction between before AI and after AI. So I'm just trying to understand because I'm young, I'm 25. I'm trying to understand like me, I'm born with internet. So people call you born with Wi-Fi. So trying to understand how was it before, like without all of this information everywhere. How do you just figure it out? And you mentioned that you talk with someone, so this is good. So I don't know, because I know also Andrew was telling me some stories where back in the days you had to do like research and it was so complex to find out the answers. It's like just trying to see like how do you navigate that?
Well, back in the day, the food pyramid existed in my back in my day, and they obviously, as you can tell by recent iterations, they had gotten it completely wrong. So when they had gotten it completely wrong, they had advised my generation essentially on basically how to be a completely fat, useless piece of shit. And in doing so, they ended up generating a lot of those fat, useless people, and our population has quite suffered because of it. If they had stuck with a higher protein based diet and things the way things are now after AI and all that kind of stuff, it's something that I would definitely consider as a an advantage. AI is a significant advantage, knowing that versus having to stumble through information like I was in the past.
Yeah, it's true. I remember also when back in the day in high school they were teaching out the pyramid, and it's like it's great. Yeah, I saw that recently. I was like, what? It's like, is it just they were just lying to us? Like we just eat this and hope for the best. And Andrew, like, how did you? Well, what is your experience with clients? Like when you came up with diet, like what was the go to when if you want to propose someone a diet to lose weight?
At the end of the day, it's always a calorie deficit in one form or another. So we just have to figure out what's going to work for them. I personally, I was a big fan of intermittent fasting. More, depending on who's going to listen to it. Like some people misinterpret what it is. It's technically time restricted feeding, if you want to call it that. Like you can eat for 16 hours. Fast for 16 hours, eat for 8 hours of the day, or different time combinations of that. But for me personally, that was the easiest way to diet, the absolute easiest by far, because you're essentially, if you do like a normal diet, and let's say you eat, right after you wake up, and let's say you have 4 or 5 meals a day, the problem is if you're in a deficit, each one of those meals, they're just so small and you never feel satisfied. It's like all you get to eat is a snack. You're already hungry, and I never get to feel full. So it's like I'm never happy. Like my craving of feeling full and I had a big meal is never satisfied. So with intermittent fasting, you kind of get to hack that, so to speak. So because I've been doing this for so long, like my knowledge in nutrition, was very, like compared to now, was terrible when I was younger. Like I was in a deficit, yeah, but I was eating chicken, brown rice, broccoli, and no salt on my meals, like just terrible. Like got the job done, but I wasn't doing it right. You know what I mean? Whereas once I started learning, like, if it fits your macros and all of that sort of stuff, and started doing intermittent fasting, I found even in a deficit, it's like, well, I got meals. I got to have 3 meals a day, and they were big compared to what I was having. So like there was some factor of mental satisfaction. So it's like, oh yeah, I might feel hungry in the morning, but the thing is about our bodies, we have hunger hormones, so ghrelin and leptin, and they adapt over time. So if we get used to fasting, like for example, if you're used to right now waking up, eating, and then you eat periodically throughout the day until you go to bed, your body's used to that. So all of a sudden, if you go, okay, you're not going to eat for 6 hours after you wake up, you're going to feel hungry because you're used to eating. So your hunger hormones have adapted to that. But once you adapt to that morning period where you don't eat, that hunger it's no longer an issue because you don't feel hungry anymore. Little side note, if you do want to start that and you don't know how to deal with that hunger, have water and coffee. Like water and coffee gets your stomach used to. So there's something in there. It's not as bad as what I thought. There's something in there. It seems silly, but literally that's what I did. It took me about a week. It was fine. I was used to it. It's like, all right, wake up at 6. I don't eat till 12. fine. Have a bit of coffee, have a bit of water, and you're all good. So any of my clients that were open to it, that's what I tried to do, because me personally, that's what was easiest for me. And all of the fat loss clients that I had, they liked the idea as well, because again, it's like there's some form of mental satisfaction there. Like little side note, when I said like I was younger, and you mentioned this as well, like, you know, how did you research things back in the day? It was hard. Like, Justin, I'm sure you remember this. Like, I don't know if you ever visited bodybuilding.com or T Nation back in the day, or like you know, and we're on dial-up internet. So man, it was a lot harder than what it is today. Like today, you just type in AI and bam, there's your answer. I was coming back home from school. I was spending all my night trying to research, how do I make the best program? What do I do for nutrition? And my two sources were bodybuilding.com and T Nation. That's all that was good back in the day. Now you guys are spoiled. You guys are spoiled with Instagram. Here's the best fucking program. Do this, do that. Boom, I got a transformation. And here I am, 13 years old, spending 6 hours a day trying to figure out how to write a program. So yeah, shit was very, very different back in the day. But yeah, so like, for example, in my less educated days when I coached myself into a bodybuilding competition, I got in bodybuilding shape. I was like 5% body fat. I got second place. But my diet at the time was what I said before, was chicken, brown rice, broccoli. Like it was difficult. Like mentally, it was one of the most challenging things I've ever been through. So at the time, I think my maintenance calories were 3,000. And I didn't know any better at the time. I didn't know about metabolic adaptation and how your metabolism adapts over time. So all I did was like, okay, 3,000, let's go to 2,500. Lost weight. Did that for a bit, stopped losing weight, got a plateau. Okay, let's go to 2,000. Lost weight, same thing. And then I ended up going down 1,700, 1,800, blah, blah, blah. I got down to 1,500. And I was sitting on 1,500 for like 2 or 3 months at the end, just to get rid of all that little bit of body fat. And it's like your mind plays tricks on you. So the easiest thing I can compare it to, like I don't really know much about drug addicts, but I'm going to assume it's the same thing. Like my mind was, any excuse in the world, just have that chocolate bar, bro. It's okay. You can go and do a little bit more on the treadmill and you just burn it off. Like it was just, my mind was just trying to, it's okay. Eat the food, eat the food, eat the food. That's more of an extreme example because my body was literally in, you could call it like starvation mode. Like I was literally eating too much. My body was like, dude, you need to eat something. So that's kind of different. But just to give you an idea of the difference, after I learned how to diet and how to manipulate metabolic adaptation and everything, way easier. I remember my second bodybuilding competition, I was barely struggling, like a little bit towards the end, but in comparison to the first one, it was a breeze. So yeah, like if you do everything right and you program it all correctly, it shouldn't be as hard as what you think. And the thing that you want to stack onto that is exactly what Justin said as well. It's like you start small and stack those wins, and you're going to compound over time. But yeah, we've come a long way with AI compared to what we had to deal with back in the day.
So this brings to my next point. What was the hardest phase? You meant, so is it the start, the middle, the plateau, the final cut? Like, what is the hardest part for you, Justin, also?
For me personally, it was the plateau. When I hit the plateau for almost a month solid, where I had lost maybe a single pound, and I was almost heartbroken that because I was working so hard and I was dieting I was being so clean about my diet, being so methodical, and like Andrew brought up, that sometimes you have to change up your diet and things like that because your body gets too used to a certain regiment and that kind of thing, and that was exactly what it was. And until I changed up my diet, that was what essentially what kickstarted the weight loss again. So changing up the diet from being exclusively just like the eggs and fish to adding a few other things in there, it ended up being essentially the secret sauce there that got me back into the weight loss side of things.
So were you only eating fish? Was there a reason why you didn't eat were you eating like chicken or meat? Is there a specific reason why ocean protein meat?
Because of basically it was a lean protein that had all of the amino acids also. So I was looking for things like your omegas and all that kind of stuff as well. And it had a more robust cadre of different amino acids, and then obviously all your fish oils and that kind of stuff as well. So I was essentially doing 2-to-1. I was getting all of the oils and those kind of nutrients, and also the protein as well. So it killed two birds with one stone in my eyes.
So now everyone knows, if you want to invite Justin to a restaurant, just go to a fish or eat salmon or something like that. You're gonna love it. So
And
perfect. So
also, how did your body react to this sudden change? Because in the beginning you said you were eating a lot of sugar, and then all of a sudden you switched to protein. Did you have any carbs in your diet, or like your energy level must have been low, especially in the beginning? So how did you stick through it to get past this phase of, oh, I'm feeling like I'm not feeling too good. Maybe I should, well, like Andrew was saying, maybe I should have this bar of chocolate, or maybe I should go and crave this sugar to just keep fueling my body.
I had a very unique motivation at the time. My motivation at the time was I was going through a pretty traumatic divorce, and with that being the case, it was pretty brutal. So that was what absolutely kept me in the gym every single day. I had to, uh, as you go through a divorce, you do get, obviously not just angry, in generality that it's a finality of something, but it's also, if it was your fault or anything to that effect, you do take ownership and responsibility in that regard. So that was one of the main factors and kept me in the gym every single day. And then obviously when I hit the plateau and then changed up the diet, things started to even improve even further and faster than that. And the last few months, I saw quite a dramatic improvement as I hit essentially what I would call the best routine that I had. And then at that point, it was just rinse and repeat on a daily basis until, well, now I'm down to 12% body fat.
this is
So
this is amazing.
I'm not doing too bad. So
You're doing amazing, man. So at what point, and you you snipe my next question. So this is good. At what point in your weight loss did you start noticing your mental health shifting? Was it like after you lost 10 pounds, 30 pounds? Like at what point say, okay, now I'm waking up and I'm feeling amazing and everything is going well?
I would say by about month four. Month four, I had a routine established. I had my diet established. I had every workout routine for every single day of the week established. And that gave me the ability to continue on and sustain throughout the time period. The mental health shift was when my when I started to see my six pack. When it started to come in and I could start to just barely see the outline. I was almost giddy. I can say that, happily now. And then, as it started to progress and it started to come in more and more so, and I started to see the separation between the abdominal muscles and stuff, I started becoming even more and more encouraged. And now, I take my shirt off and I flex my abs and I got these little gill things that hang off of the side. I don't even know what those muscles are for, but I got them now. Um, so that's exactly what I wanted. Essentially, I wanted to be able to be in my 40s with a six pack and be in good shape, and I'm all of those things now. So it's a goal. It was a lifetime goal. I have achieved that goal, and now it's just maintaining it and improving slightly as I continue on. Realistic expectations.
This is amazing. And how did people react around you when you started changing? Like, did the relationship shift? What happened around you?
The most sustainable shift was just my friendships and my relationships. Some of the guys that I was hanging out with at the time actually got pretty jealous, and were pretty envious that I was making that kind of a transition in my life, and they turned into kind of frenemies at that point. The friends turned into kind of haters because they saw you doing better, and then a lot of times they'll want you to do great and all that kind of stuff, but they never want you to do better than them. So that's what I had experienced in that regard. And then the real monumental shift was when I went to the beach for the first time and I took my shirt off, and a girl came up to me and she approached me. And she was obviously interested in me. And she was a very good looking young lady. And I was absolutely just taken back at the time because that's something that doesn't normally happen for a guy. I can say that for probably most guys, that you don't get approached unless you're, multi-millionaire, notoriety, celebrity status, and that kind of stuff. Most of the normal guys like us, we got to go out and work for it. Got to go out, approach the women, take your shots and all that kind of stuff, take your L's and all that kind of deal. But that was the time that was the most influential, most impactful for me, is when the first time that a girl came up, because that was the reflection of what I wanted. That was everything that I had been working towards. And that was an achievement of a goal right there when she walked up and she initiated. I was tremendously happy that day.
I'm pretty sure this is. I mean, when something like this happens, you're like, okay, shit, and you realize how far you worked, and it's like, okay, well, I'm doing really great. And, you were mentioning that also for your friends, they start to turn into like enemies. So, do I assume that you just started to distance yourself from people who are like pushing you down and you just decided to put yourself amongst people that actually will push you forward?
Yes, I'd noticed not just a body shift and a physical fitness shift, but an overall mentality shift that I wanted to do more on every regard. I wanted to make more money. I wanted to do more fitness stuff. I wanted to do more activities. I wanted to do more with my daughter. And the more that I wanted to do, it seemed like the less that they were willing to be there for or be with me while I was doing. And then I realized that they didn't have the same goals that I did. And that it's kind of hard to take when your friends don't have the same goals. They don't want to be as good as they could possibly be. They're just okay with being mediocre. And they've resigned themselves to this is as good as they're going to be. And they'll get fat and they'll get complacent and they'll get married and have kids and it's okay, because they're married and they have kids. It's not okay. It so is not okay that I can't even tell you how not okay it is because it kills you. It kills you mentally, it kills you physically. And I can tell you without the turnaround, I probably wouldn't be here for this podcast right now. I can tell you that for almost to certainty because 240 pounds, high cholesterol at the time, and it's a recipe for disaster, man. I mean, it really is. So I'm glad that I got into shape.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I think this is, you know, the, a lot of people go through that, but some people, like you mentioned, they just can't get out of it. And unfortunately, I think for some of them, it ends up really bad because there's too much pressure. And so it's super glad to hear that, like you just stick to it and you just you push it even when it was hard and you decided to change your old habits. And I think it paid off. And, you got me interested to talk about your business comeback, right? You're telling, okay, once you got back in shape, your relationship started getting better, and then you wanted to elevate yourself. So at that time, before the whole transformation, I believe that your business weren't growing, was stagnating, was difficult. But when you got in shape, what changed in how you showed up to work? Like, did the way that you are working, you become sharper? Like, what happens in your businesses when you change?
Well, I noticed that mental acuity definitely increased quite a bit. Being a lot more mentally sharp, not having a daily fog essentially was something that was commonplace when I was fat and out of shape. Now I don't have that whatsoever, and I didn't have that at the time as I was starting to get in more and more better, starting to get into better and better shape. Um, but as time progressed, it was a cumulative process over each one of the iterations, each one of the days, each one of the weeks, and that kind of things. You could feel uh, an improvement, and you could see a dramatic improvement. Um, but the best the best example of it was essentially when business was at its absolute worst, and I had realized that it had gone completely awry and everything was at its bottom. I was still at that time still not doing well. Essentially, it's still out of shape. And I realized as I tracked the numbers that when I was back and I was out of shape versus the as I had started to get into better and better shape, the numbers throughout the business in totality improved. So not just as my physical fitness and my mental health improved, the entire business improved on a slow parabolic arc, and then it just shot up through the moon essentially when I felt like I hit my stride. Then I was happy to go to work every single day. I was excited about going to the gym every morning. Everything was everything was working out as it's supposed to be. Everything was in a routine. I had a schedule set, and it was super easy to adhere to because it was already a habit because I had built it over time. And those small wins were the one thing that kept me through every single time that I would be able to continue on that next day because yesterday was a win and I got to keep that momentum. And that was something that always kept me tremendously motivated, that I didn't want to disappoint yesterday, because I had already done yesterday, and I just got to do today to make tomorrow better. And that was the whole point of continuing on the process and on the journey.
It's amazing. I mean, it's crazy to think that when you change one small thing in your life, it's just going to be a snowball effect. And I think a lot of people, when when they want to do change in their life, they don't think about this, about the repercussion and how big an impact can it have just by changing one habit. Like, look at it, you just change your habit, decided one morning to have a schedule, and now you got in shape, and then your business starting to grow and everything starting to get better. So it's crazy to see like how things can change really fast when you actually focus. And you mentioned your business were going amazing well, and I believe at some point you had a huge exit, and you sold one of your businesses. And do you think this wouldn't have been possible without your physical transformation? Like, do you think they were directly linked, the fact that, okay, I changed and now boom, I got a huge win in business beyond just my physicality?
Absolutely. It was something that I didn't anticipate at the time, at such a large win coming. I was approached by a mutual business associate at the time, and he came in with a number that was right on par with what the business was essentially worth, doing cash flow month over month and that kind of thing. And I decided at that point that I had won. Essentially, I'd won that game. I had gone from fat and the business failing to the business successful and being in shape and being in the best mental health of my life. And yeah, I felt like I had won, and I felt like that was the time to go out while you're on top, kind of thing.
So walk us through that business. What was it? What got it stuck? And what unlocked the growth to then bring to you like selling the business?
The business started in 2012, and so it was quite some time ago. It was immediately after I had been laid off at Fidelity National Financial, one of the subsidiaries for those companies. Uh, I had decided at the time I was going to go and try and get married. So I was about to ask my girlfriend at the time to become a fiance. Um, in doing so, I was kind of hesitant on whether I should do it on the trip, because I had just lost the job and all that kind of stuff. But I figured I'd gamble on me. I pull the trigger, figure out, let's see what happens. So immediately afterwards, I started the research to do the gun shop, things of that nature. Started going through the motions, getting the licensure, getting the insurances and all those kinds of things in place. And then over that next year, I was told so many times by so many different people that, you're not going to be able to do it. There's no way you can do that. There's no way that someone single-handedly can found something like that. And every single time they told me no, their spite drove me that I wanted it even more then. So I made sure that it was going to happen at that point. So I believe it was 2014, I opened up the retail store, and then the Obama years, and it had quite some tremendous impact on obviously gun sales and that kind of stuff. So I made quite a dramatic amount of money during the Obama administration. The first Trump administration, we didn't do so well, but then Biden got into office, and then all those kind of things decided to change as well again. So it's ebbs and flows in business and whatnot, and it's how you can innovate in each stage as where you're going to be successful. So there were quite some times that there were downturns in business that I had to find a different avenue to make additional cash flow for that month, or additional cash flow revenue streams to continue and perpetuate business. But I had grown the business from essentially a $50,000 investment to, when I had exited, at 2.4 million. So over a 12-year time period, it was pretty decent, pretty decent exit game
Wow,
plan.
this is amazing. And they often say that business is a reflection of who you are, and I think this is exactly what you're portraying here. It's when you're a person in good in shape, you work hard on yourself, and you make sure that your relationship around you are amazing. I think it's gonna be the same for business, and it radiates everywhere. So it's amazing. And what was how did you feel the moment you say, okay, I sold this business, I made money, I used to be broke, I was suicidal, I wasn't feeling good, now I'm looking great, I made it. what was the moment? Like, how did you feel, and what did you do with this money? Like, why did you decide to reinvest it? Like, what happened at that moment?
Well, I did have to pay off quite a few debts, obviously, as you can imagine. Being in business, you have to pay off owed amounts and whatnot, loans and all et cetera. So I didn't walk away with obviously the full full multi-million dollar payday kind of thing. So, but I did take it all. I did put a pretty dramatic amount of money and paid off my mom's house and um, did some other things as a part of selling the business. Um, Bought mom a car, bought myself a couple of new cars and that kind of thing. Bought quite a few watches. Um, but to be honest with you, after making all the money and all that kind of stuff, I find more fulfillment in helping out my friends and seeing them win because my wins are inevitable at this point. So I mean, it's just being able to be there to help out for their wins and watching them succeed is now where I find the vast amount of my fulfillment.
Amazing. And what about your physicality? Like, is there something that changed whenever, all of these wins came and then now you start helping people around you? Like, is there something different that you're doing now in your fitness, or maybe you're starting to help out more people into their fitness journey?
Well, as part of this is yes, I'm helping out tremendously more people than I was before because now I have the skills because I've actually been there and done it, and that kind of thing. So I have the experience and the expertise of having gone through and done the workout routines and done the dieting and done the intermittent fasting. So I do have the experience now so that I am more of an authority for when I want to help out friends and that kind of thing. So yeah, it did make a tremendous difference as a part of that.
Amazing. And this brings me to another point I wanted to talk with you, and we don't have to go more good, like we don't have to go in details, but through all of that, you sell your business, and then you start winning in life. Of course, you're gonna start reinvesting into yourself, meet people that are at the same standard as yours, and they're going to push you to achieve more. Of course, you got introduced and connected with a huge brand, and we don't have to mention them, but maybe if you can walk us through, like, what are these brands like, and what are their, what's in which field into the fitness and whatsoever, and how did you got connected with these big brands?
Some of the brands that I'm connected with now are as a part of quite controversial brands, as you could imagine. So we'll leave the actual name brands off of the ad so that you
I
guys
mean,
can run
people
them
can do research
separately.
on you. I mean, I'm gonna share the links, so
They're
they,
gonna figure it out
they're
regardless.
gonna
So,
figure it out.
uh, but I was I do heavily associate with the Andrew Tate universe, essentially as they call it, the manosphere, I guess you would say. I did join the real world school, and I am a pretty steadfast figure there. I am one of the fitness captains in there. So yes, I do find quite a bit of fulfillment in that pursuit of one's best self. That's something that I'm very, very focused on at this point. So focused, in fact, that I did go a little bit past the real world and did join the war room as a part of uh, my progression in life. And I can say that I have found more fulfillment in the last few years than I have in my entire life. It is really, truly life changing, and I wish I'd have done it sooner, or wish
Amazing.
I'd have been there sooner.
I mean, how you mentioned that you became a captain in the fitness campus. How is it helping people around? Like, what is the feeling? What's the day to day look like of just you want to help out people into their fitness journey?
Normally, it's just advising on their diet, their fitness schedule, how to break down what workout routines that they're going to be using and that kind of stuff. So it's just answering general questions about health and fitness, metabolism, and how the body processes certain things. What are the best nutrients for bodybuilding and that kind of stuff. What should you use to do weight loss, those kind of simple things.
And what's the most common question that you receive? Because I know sometimes, when you have a lot of people, there's always common questions. What are one of them? Like the top two, top three questions that you receive often with people in their fitness journey?
Well, in the if you're talking exclusive to the real world, the first question I'm always asked is, "Can I get a ride in the Lamborghini?" That's always the very first question. Uh, but other than that, the first question is how did I find the strength to carry on essentially throughout all of my tribulations, because there were quite a few of them. I mean, I had seen criminal charges, I was under a divorce, my failing business. I mean, all three trifecta at the same time. It was quite a troubling time. So, to be able to be significantly in debt to turn it around to being, positive and in the black essentially works out really, really well.
So I believe also, now that you've gained a lot of authority and people starting to know you more, you also got the chance to working as an affiliate with one of these two, like there's two sub brands within this whole ecosystem. What is it like? Can you share with us what it looks like, and if you had to break it down for someone just to better understand like how all of these brands work, the affiliate, just walk us through it.
Certainly. Well, I'm an affiliate for Fireblood and for the Top G merch side of the gear. So Andrew Tate's merchandise and his gear. You'll probably see me in quite a few of the featured ads and whatnot. Sporting the Built Different or the dog tag. I wear my gold dog tag at all times, of course. Um, and It's just it's an affiliate program because I do use the supplement quite avidly. I take a scoop every single day. I was one of the very first guys to essentially try the supplement, and a friend of mine and I did decide to do the dry scoop challenge and make it something that since it's the nastiest supplement in the entire nastiest tasting supplement in the entire universe. You have to make it even more painful. So instead of taking it with water, you take it as a dry scoop, and then that's how we've made it the most devastating supplement on the market, because some people can take it, some people can't take it.
I mean, yeah,
Um,
I tested. I remember I tested the first version when it was the white one. It was, man, I don't know how I did it. It was something. It's disgusting, but it's efficient.
oh, it's absolutely a very unique taste. Very
It's
unique
unique, but
taste.
let me tell you, when I tested these supplements, I was feeling wired the whole day. I had so much energy. I remember one of my friend. It was the first time they took it in the middle of the afternoon, and they end up staying the whole night because they had so much energy, because there's just so much vitamin. So this brings me to a question: like, what does it like? If you had to break down someone these kind of supplements, what does it do? And maybe, and so Andrew, you can add this. Like, what does it do specifically, and why some people why is it recommended to take it? Like, for example, me personally, supplement, I don't take it because I feel like it's a bit too complex. It's like something I don't really understand. So if you had to break it down into simpler term, what is it, what does it do, and so is there someone that needs to use it, and why do they need to use supplement?
I personally recommend supplements for everybody because your body's missing, vitamins, minerals, amino acids somewhere. There's no way that you're eating an entire perfect diet of all of these things. So there's always going to be room for supplementation in that regard. With Fireblood, it is exclusively just the supplements itself. There's no candy flavoring or anything like that. So that's one of the reasons that it is the nastiest supplement on the market. So it does not taste great, but I can tell you that the results are absolutely undeniable. Having used the product for over a year myself personally, I find a dramatic power increase, energy increase when I take it before I go to work out. Sustained workouts throughout the entire work out longer, harder, more intense. It's just an overall better experience in the gym. And then the Top G merch side, I mean, can't complain. The clothing is fantastic. It's great made clothing. And then, it supports a brand that I personally believe in heavily because, Andrew did help me quite a bit from, a place of quite trials and tribulations to where I am today. So
This is
say
amazing.
thanks.
This is great. And what's your take on this, Andrew, about this whole supplements, and yeah, what do you think about this? Like, it's like, and also I'm adding a second point regarding. I don't know if you've done some research regarding Fireblood. Like, what do you think about this? And so, what's your thought? Because Justin has the inside information and all the knowledge, and I would like to know, like, Andrew, coming from an external point of view, what do you think about all of this?
With supplements, so it's it's very different today than what it used to be back in the day when I first got started out with everything. And again, this is, with Instagram and social media, like all of that wasn't around when I was getting started with all the fitness stuff. And back then, you would see the big guys at the gym, or you would, see a advertisement in a magazine. And, for example, I don't know if you guys remember, was it Celtec? I forget the brand that does it, but it was Celtec. It was like creatine and protein, something like that. And they had these crazy claims on there that you gain, I think it was like 20 pounds of muscle in 2 months. I think that's what they claimed. And then they go, it's with studies as well. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. I got to get my hands on this. I got to go buy it, blah, blah, blah. And then years later, you find out that, yeah, it was studied, but it was studied by their team, and they left out the fact that he got on steroids while he was doing that transformation as well. They also left out the fact that he was off steroids, lost a bunch of muscle, was already big previously, then got back on steroids, but took Celtec as well. So it's like, there's so much false information with many different supplements. So I went through all of that. I was always the type of I fell for the marketing when I was younger. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to give me all these results, blah, blah, blah. Whereas these days, because I've learned so much more about how, not just the marketing side of it works, but how the actual supplements and everything works. In this day and age, unfortunately, because of, how food's produced and pesticides, fluoride, all the bunch of bad stuff they put on food, a lot of the foods that we have, they don't really meet the nutritional requirements they did back in the day. This is, certain things like, magnesium and zinc in the soil, the amount of levels that they have in the soil. I think they did a study from memory recently, where there's only certain areas in the world where the minerals in the ground are still how they should be. But most of the world, the minerals that the vegetables and everything absorb aren't the same level that they used to be. Don't quote me exactly. I know it's something along the lines of that. So yeah, I think that there's certain things that we should be supplementing, like magnesium being one of them, zinc being one of them. You can get it through your food, but it's going to make life a lot easier to get certain things through your supplements. But certain other supplements, so pre-workout, I used to be big on the bandwagon for pre-workout, but I tried to get away from that, and eventually I transitioned to coffee, and then eventually I don't have any stimulants or anything like that. And it's more so because I started to understand how caffeine works, and I didn't like the fact that I woke up and quote unquote needed a coffee to start my day. I didn't like that. I'm like, this is like an addiction, and like because it's so normal. Like coffee, like who doesn't think having a cup of coffee is normal? It's a normal thing, right? I'll just have a cup of coffee. But when I started thinking about it, I'm like, I don't want a coffee. I need a coffee. I can't function right now. I don't like that. I don't like the fact that I wake up and I need a coffee, because like this, I'm an addict. Then you start thinking about it, like, yeah, like half the world's got a coffee addiction, and it's just a normal thing because it's coffee. It's socially acceptable, but you don't realize it's an addiction. So that's where I sort of started trying to get away from, like, oh, I don't really know. There are still certain supplements I will take. It's just the ones that make you depend on them. And look, I haven't taken pre-workout in a long time, but Justin, I'm sure you would remember the old Jack 3D and the 1MR. Like those were the OGs of pre-workout. Like they don't make them like that no more. So I don't know if the story is true, but this is what I heard, because Jack 3D got banned originally, and it was like, I'm not even exaggerating, and I'll tell you the reason why it gave me so much strength as well. So at the time I was doing powerlifting, and I specifically remember whenever I had the Jack 3D compared to when I didn't have the Jack 3D, my lower body lifts were 10 kilos more, and my upper body lifts were 5 kilos more than normal compared to if I didn't have it. And I was just like, this thing's a miracle supplement. But the downside of it was there was a full come down. Like there was like, as if I was coming down off drugs. Like I was messed up when you came off that pre-workout. Like that's not the same pre-workout you have today. Like this shit was crazy. And the ingredient they had in there was called DMAA. I can't remember what it stands for. And again, don't quote me. This is just what I looked up a little bit after. But what I remember they were saying, because that ingredient became illegal later on. Now, what I remember looking at was they showed you how it gave you those insane gains and why you had such a crazy crash. So the DMAA, if you look at the chemical structure of it, it's literally, if you got methamphetamine and flipped it upside down, it's the same chemical structure. So they found a legal loophole to put like meth into supplements back in the day. So that's why I was so strong. I was literally, I'm not exaggerating, I was lifting 10 kilos more. And in the hindsight, I'm like, oh, obviously I was on speed. Obviously I'm going to be, shit tons stronger. It's revving up my CNS. But, so yeah, it's interesting how the supplement industry sort of, gets around all of these things and all of these little loopholes. And I'm trying to figure out like, why am I getting a come down from a pre-workout? Like I was full on depressed. I'm like, what the hell is going on? It's like I just came off drugs or something. What the hell is going on? I just took a pre-workout. So yeah, so I got like, do you want to call it a little bit of supplement trauma, if you want to call it that. So the pre-workouts, I'm like, oh man, look, give me a quarter dose. I'll start on a quarter and I'll see how I go if I test it out. Um, so yeah, I think there's some supplements that make sense, but like for example, protein, just eat food. Like, if you're not used to the food volume, okay, you got a reason to have some protein powder, but for the most part, it's marketing. Like, you're going to get all the same nutrients out of beef or chicken or whatever, if not better nutrients. But yeah, there are going to be some supplements. For example, if I think they in England they made it like an official recommendation for people to take vitamin D because in England, it's always raining and they don't get much sunlight. So I think they officially recommended vitamin D supplements. So there are certain supplements that I'm cool with. Um, Jack 3D, that's yeah, crazy stories. Just a real quick one on this. Just got another quick little interesting story. So Jack 3D was like the king. It was like the strongest one. And then there was another one called 1MR, and it was abbreviated for one more rep, right? And as far as I could tell, it was stronger. Like it was stronger. I'm assuming they just put a little bit more of that ingredient in there, but I specifically remember one time got to the gym and I was in another level. I was on another world. I didn't know what the hell was going on. But I specifically remember I looked in the mirror and I did a double take. I went and looked at my eyes. They were full on dilated, like I was on drugs. And I was like, I just took a pre-workout. It's just 1 ml. I just took a pre-workout. And I'm looking in my mirror. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And I had so much energy, like not, how can I say? I needed to go to the bathroom, and at the gym that I was at the time, the bathroom was upstairs. Like you had to go 2 flights of stairs to get to the bathroom. I had so much energy. There was no rush. I had all the time in the world. That wasn't the issue. I couldn't help myself. I had so much energy. I sprinted up the stairs, took a piss. I'm looking in the mirror. I'm like, let's fucking go. Like, I was just so much energy. But yeah, about an hour after that, I was like crashing all around. Need a bed. Where's a hospital? Feel like I'm dying. What's going on? So yeah, it's just yeah, the pre-workout. I don't know how it is these days. You guys can tell me. I haven't tried Fire Blood or all of that stuff, so I don't know what's in it. But yeah, my experience is I'm pretty sure it's very, very different to the pre-workout experience of today.
This is crazy, man. What a story, but this is crazy.
No, he's absolutely right about that, Jack. I did try that stuff back in the day. I am old enough to have tried that stuff. And yes, it was banned because when they, to my understanding, and I don't know if it was just an urban legend, but it was meth. They just flipped the image when they submitted it for the patent. So it didn't, it was actually the actual patent for methamphetamine, to my understanding. I don't know if that's urban legend or not, but after having taken that stuff personally, I would vouch that that stuff is absolutely meth. Yes. Yeah, because just like he had described, you walk up to the mirror and you look at yourself, and your eyes are a little bloodshot, but your pupils are the size of saucers, and you're ready to literally tear the world in half. So yeah, I could completely sympathize with being on Jack. It was the closest thing at the time to being on probably drugs in the gym.
This is crazy, man. This is crazy.
So yeah, I literally heard the exact same thing. They flipped the chemical compound upside down. Another thing, I don't know if this was a myth or not, but this was the reason that I heard that it got banned. The reason was apparently someone in the US military had half a tub left of Jack 3D, and someone was like G'ing him up. He's like, oh, take the whole tub, do like a big dose. So apparently this US military guy literally did that. He got the tub, put water in the half tub remaining of Jack 3D, had the whole thing, and he died, of an overdose because it's basically meth, right? And as to my knowledge, that's the story of why they ended up getting banned. But I don't know if that's the official story or not. But yeah, it's crazy to see how far we've come, eh? Just flipping chemical compounds. Yeah, have some speed, get some results, have a fun time.
No, Better Blood is a multivitamin, vitamins, minerals, amino acids. It is definitely not Jack 3D. I can say that for sure. I do take it personally every single day, and it definitely doesn't produce the bulging forehead and all of the other kinds of things that you would get on the Jack 3. That's a fun trip down nostalgia row there. Because I remember having taken that, and I remember that feeling, and I remember being identical as described.
Man, this was such an interesting story. I mean, we used to live in a different world where there was less regulation. But this brings me to another question. Do you think now, is it the same? Like people try to, some other brands try to manipulate the people to buy into the product? Or do you think now it's like some of the product, they aren't natural anymore? What's your take on that?
I think they're just not authentic anymore. They're more worried about making the dollar these days than making the person or the subject better. So I think it's gotten away from the actual health oriented, making yourself better and improving self health, than it is just about making more money kind of thing. So I think we've fallen off quite a bit. I'd like to see us go back to the companies actually caring about the health of the people and that kind of stuff, as opposed to just being profiteers.
And one last question before I move into just the last section, which I'm going to explain you what we will be doing. What are you trying to take next now? What's your goal for the next 2 to 3 years?
Well, currently I'm taking care of my mom. She's a little bit ill, so I'm taking care of her here at the house. But my lifestyle has afforded me the ability to do so. So I made a fair amount throughout my lifetime and things of that nature. So I'm able to be able to take that time that I need to now to take care of the family members that I'm supposed to. So that's very important to me. And then moving forward is probably a new business. I think I'm gonna consider start consulting again, and then I'm probably thinking about a new AI business of some kind or another at this point.
Interesting. Maybe you should try to do something that is related to your story and all of that. I mean, you went through a crazy transformation. Maybe you can try to do something like this and consult for people more, helping more people. I mean, this is what I think in this world. This is what people need nowadays. Just guidance, and as long as you have a plan, I think everything's gonna be good. It's gonna be fine.
Well, I am also going to be writing a few books here shortly. They're already in the process, so I'll be
Amazing.
writing one specifically about navigating divorce as a man, navigating dealing with death as a man, or the man as a head of household and that kind of thing. So I've got quite a few different little projects that are on the side project burner and that kind of thing. So there's always something going. But I just want to make sure that I have take the majority of the time right now to focus on my mom and making her health my priority.
Amazing. This is I'm definitely looking forward to hear more about this. And to finally conclude this podcast, Justin, I would like to ask you 6 questions, but I'll call them rapid fire and close. So I just want to wrap with punchy, quotable quotes that you share. I ask you a question, and maybe in a sentence you answer me the answer, and I think that way, if someone wants to remember something about this podcast, these 6 questions will wrap up everything. So I'll start with the first question. If you could go back and talk to the 240-pound version of yourself, what do you say?
If I could go back to talk to the 240-pound version of myself, get in the gym, you fat ass. You're lazy.
Great. One habit that changed everything.
The one habit that changed everything was time management. Time management made a tremendous difference in my life. I can tell you that to an absolute T. Gave me the ability to schedule things, make things happen on a timeline, checklists. Those things made my life better.
Great. Hardest truth you had to accept about yourself.
Hardest truth I had to accept about myself was that I'm only human and I cannot do everything myself.
This is a nice message. This is a really nice message. What's something you believed back than that you now know is complete bullshit?
I used to think that the media narrative was actually had some semblance of truth. I've come to find out that it's all a complete web of lies. It's all twisted and manipulated to whichever narrative they want you to hear. Trying to find out the real truth, you physically have to be there and observe it yourself.
For the guy listening right now who's overweight, broke, and thinking about giving up, what do you want him to hear?
You can do it. I did it. I promise it is real. If you stick to it every day, you try your very best, it will happen.
And one last question, and I think, of course, is one of the most important. Where can people find you and follow the journey, your journey?
Uh, you can follow my journey on Instagram. I am the Refined G virtually everywhere. Instagram, X, uh, across the board. My link tree, I'll post that as a part of this as well, so you guys will have that also. You'll be able to see all the merch, the Fire Blood, and essentially the Lamborghini that I won from Andrew Tate.
Amazing. Thank you, Justin, for your time. It was an amazing conversation, and I did learn a lot. It's amazing going through your journey and how you change yourself, and to now your current state and the opportunities you have and where you're heading. I'm really glad and honored that you came into this podcast, and thanks again for your time.
Hey man, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. Fit Commit AI.
Amazing. I mean, now that you mention it, I know you've been testing it. You've been testing it and playing around with it, and you know, and anytime there's new updates, what do you think about this? Like, it's just burst. You know, what's your thought on it?
I'll be honest with you, if I'd had this when I was doing my physical fitness journey, it would have been significantly easier to track everything. I would have loved to have something that would have given me a body scan and AI and all that to tell me my body fat percentages, caloric intake, like what path I needed to take for each. Man, it would have been significantly more helpful. I wouldn't have been stabbing in the dark like I was, 20 years ago back when dial-up and, Jack 3D. But it would have been a substantially faster process. I probably would have made it even faster than 9 months. I probably made it in 6.
Amazing. Thank you, man, for your time and for showing the support. And I really appreciate this conversation. I'm just gonna stop the recording now, and then we can take like 5 minutes just to talk and just wrap it up.